Central Intelligence is a new action comedy from the director of Dodgeball and We're the Millers, and it stars Dwayne Johnson and Kevin Hart. And what this movie's about is both these characters knew each other back in high school. Kevin Hart was voted most likely to succeed, and he was the most popular kid in the school. Even the teachers loved him. And Dwayne Johnson was the most picked on kid at school, especially one moment involving the whole school looking at him naked in a gym. Now 20 years later, Kevin Hart is now an accountant. He's not very happy with his job and his marriage isn't doing all that well. And then there's Dwayne Johnson, who lost all the fat, got extremely buff, and now works for the CIA. And he and Kevin Hart hang out one night. They're gonna reunite. After that night of reuniting, Kevin Hart realizes that Dwayne Johnson is in some deep doo-doo because he's being set up by the CIA for something he didn't do, and he needs help figuring out what happened. Or is that what's going on? Is Kevin Hart actually gonna believe that, or does he think Dwayne Johnson is just a crazy psycho like the CIA is trying to say? Who knows? It's a Guess Who Did It movie starring Dwayne Johnson and Kevin Hart, because one's really tall, one's really short. Now, I wasn't particularly excited for this movie. I didn't think the trailers were awful. It's just, it didn't really hook me. However, I saw We're the Millers. I didn't see Dodgeball, but I saw We're the Millers, and it was okay. Didn't hate it, didn't love it, just, it was alright. And after walking out of this movie, I can say I had a decent time with this film. It actually surprised me a little bit how much I actually did enjoy it, even though it wasn't by all that much. One thing that surprised me though, Kevin Hart. Usually in movies, I don't find Kevin Hart all that funny or that good. However, as a stand-up comedian, Kevin Hart is actually pretty good. And in this movie, I think this is honestly his best movie role. I haven't seen Secret Life of Pets though, maybe that's his big Oscar winner. But right now, in this movie, I think Kevin Hart actually did a good job. There are times where it goes back to his mannerisms of screeching like a wild baboon. But overall, I actually did enjoy Kevin Hart in this movie. And Dwayne Johnson surprised me because I was a little worried. I didn't know if he was going to be able to pull off this goofy kind of character. However, he did it. He exceeded exceptionally. I freaking loved Dwayne Johnson in this movie. Every time he was on screen, like a smile popped up on my face. He was the most entertaining character by far. And these two together were actually really good. Their chemistry was on, and you can even tell that they're friends. Like, you can tell that they hang out even when they're not filming the movie. Like, they had some outtakes during the credits, you know, that stuff comedies sometimes do. And they have the outtakes of them laughing at each other because they messed up or something. You can even tell them that they're really good friends. And the majority of my laughs actually came from them. They were by far the best aspect and the most entertaining parts of this whole film, because sometimes when other side characters were trying to be funny, it just didn't really work. Especially one character that showed up early on. That guy, I'm so glad he did not stick around that much because he sucked. And the action was actually pretty well done. It's not like the best action scenes of all time, but it wasn't poorly done either. It was alright as far as comedies go. However, this movie falters in a big way for me in one aspect, and that would be the overall plot of this movie. It's basically something about satellite encryption code. Someone has it and they're trying to sell it. Pretty much Dwayne Johnson's after them, but what the CIA thinks is that he did it. The movie pretty much sets up, hey, do you think Dwayne Johnson's telling the truth and the person after him is actually the bad guy, or do you think they're telling the truth and Dwayne Johnson is the bad guy? Pick one. And for me, I was just like, well, I don't believe that. And I probably don't believe that either. But the movie didn't spend time setting up another option for it. It was pretty much this or this, and I didn't buy any of those. And when something big is revealed later on in the movie, I honestly didn't really care that much because the movie didn't really spend that much time developing that sort of option. And one subplot involving Kevin Hart having some difficulties with his marriage, I'm not kidding. As soon as any scene involving the wife was over, and then a couple scenes passed and they showed up again, I was like, oh, that's right. You're in this movie. I completely forgot about you. And this is kind of a big thing that's weighing on Kevin Hart, so having this subplot be kind of forgettable isn't that good. And the overall message of this movie is bullying is wrong, don't ever bully, and if you know someone who's being bullied, help them out, all that stuff about bullying. Anti-bullying is the way to go. I agree with that. It's just the way they kind of bring it all together near the end of the movie without spoiling anything, just a little cliched. But overall, I had a decent time with this film. It's not like it's the best comedy of the year or anything like that. I just had a decent time. Kevin Hart and Dwayne Johnson were hilarious together, and I really enjoyed them. It's just it wasn't enough to get me kind of hooked on the overall plot of this movie. So I'm gonna give Central Intelligence a B-. I think you can have some fun with this movie. I think some people will actually walk out loving this film. I wouldn't be that surprised if you ended up hating this movie though. It's just, for me personally, had a decent time with it. Could I watch it again? Sure, why not? But if you saw Central Intelligence, leave in the comments below of what you thought of it. And this weekend is pretty busy. We got Independence Day Resurgence, The Shallows, Free State of Jones. Oh yeah, apparently there's a new Disney Channel movie coming out. It's a reboot of a 1985 film. You may have heard of it. It's called The Adventures in Babysitting.
No! No! No!
But as always, thank you guys for watching. Make sure to subscribe. I'm Jackson Fulcher. See you guys next time.